Hi friends, today we are going to discuss about cardiac muscle. To deep dive into the functions and physiology of cardiology, we need to uh, know details about the structure and the function of the cardiac muscle. Then only we can understand the physiology of cardiology in detail. Okay. Coming to the cardiac muscle, the heart is composed mainly of three major types of cardiac muscle. Okay, how many types? Three major types of cardiac muscle. They are atrial muscle, ventricular muscle, and specialized excitatory and conductive muscle fibers. So, what are those three? One is atrial muscle, ventricular muscle, and specialized excitatory and conductive muscle fibers. Right. See, and the atrial and ventricular types of muscle contract same as skeletal muscle, except the duration of contraction is much longer. Understand? See, the contraction of atrial and ventricular types of muscles are as same as that of skeletal muscle, except the duration of contraction is much longer. Okay, right. And coming to the next point, the specialized excitatory and conductive fibers of the heart, however, contract feebly because they contain few contractile fibrils. Instead, they exhibit automatic rhythmical electrical discharge in the form of action potential or conduction of action potentials to the heart, providing an excitatory system that controls the rhythmic beating of the heart. So, third type of muscle which we have just now discussed, that is specialized excitatory and conductive. So what is the role of that muscle is, see, the contraction is very feeble, okay, because they have a few contractile fibrils. These specialized muscle, namely excitatory and conductive fibers of the heart, have very few contractile fibrils. Due to this, they contract feebly, very less. Okay, because they need to exhibit automatic rhythmical electrical discharge in the form of action potential, okay, or conduction of the action potential to the heart, providing an rhythmical beating of the heart. Okay, so third type of muscle, which is a specialized excitatory and conductive fibers of the heart, contracts feebly, very less, due to few contractile fibrils. Due to that few feebly contraction, what will happen? The action potential which is generated in one part of the cardiac muscle is conducted through the entire part of the heart, which helps in rhythmical beating of the heart. Understand? Right. If there is a rapid contraction, then the action potential, once it is generated in one part of the heart or cell of the heart, cannot be conducted throughout the heart at the same time. So at the time we won't get this rhythmical beating of the heart. When we auscultate the heartbeat, we hear the sound as lub dub lub dub, the same rhythm. So that is called rhythmical beating of the heart. That is only due to the presence of the specialized excitatory and conductive fibers of the heart. Okay, and it is due to few contractile fibrils present in this excitatory and conductive fibers of the heart muscle. Okay, right. Second, when you see the microscopic structure of the cardiac muscle, it is striated in the same manner as skeletal muscle. It is striated as the same manner as skeletal muscle. And you see this microscopic structure of the cardiac muscle, that is cardiac fibril. Okay, you see a dark lined structures present in the fibril. You see, these are called as intercalated discs. And these fibrils are also branched with another fibril, so it's called a branching cell. Okay, right. And see, this is a muscle fiber, and in the muscle fibers is branch, and they are also connected, interconnected. Okay, and this all the fibrils in the muscle fiber, okay, are also connected by this intercalated discs. So these horizontal, vertical lines are nothing but the intercalated disc. So what is the use of this intercalated discs? Okay, the cardiac muscle fibers are made up of many individual cells connected in series and in parallel with one another. Okay, here this is very important. The arrangement of cardiac muscle fibers are made up of many individual cells, okay, which are connected in series and parallel with one another. Okay. At each intercalated disc, the cell membranes fuse with one another to form a permeable communicating junctions, so called cap junctions, that allow rapid diffusion of ions. So, what is the importance of this intercalated discs is here. Before that, how they are formed is by fusion of cell membranes. Okay, this disc is formed. So, what is the purpose of this fusion of this cell membranes is because once the action potential is generated at any part of one cell of the cardiac muscle, cardiac fibril, that action potential generated in that cell is transmitted to other parts of the cells via through this intercalated discs, because these intercalated discs are nothing but the formed by the fusion of cell membranes of adjacent cardiac muscle cells. Understand? So, due to that fusion, the action potential generated in one place it can be easily conducted to other cells of the cardiac muscle. Okay, so this intercalated disc is very important for the atomicity and also rhythmic beating of the heart. Understand? See, ions move with ease in the intercellular fluid along the longitudinal axis of the cardiac muscle fibers. So the action potential travel easily from one cardiac muscle cell to the next past the intercalated disc. Thus, cardiac muscle is in a syncytium of heart muscle cells in which the cardiac cells are so interconnected that when one cell becomes excited, the action potential rapidly spreads to all of them. So here what he is saying, ions, this action potential causing ions move with ease in the intracellular fluid along the axis of cardiac muscle fibers. So the action potential travel easily from cardiac muscle cell to the next through the intercalated discs. So only this cardiac muscle is a syncytium of many heart muscle cells in which the cardiac cells are so interconnected. Okay. So what he is telling, to make it very simple, through these intercalated discs, as the action potential is generated, these ions easily flow from one cell of the this cardiac muscle cell to the another form of another muscle cell, and due to ease in flow of ions from one cell to another cell through these intercalated discs, okay, the whole of the heart muscle is kept in a rhythm, or it is also called as a syncytium of cardiac muscle. It's called as syncytium. Why? Because cardiac muscle is a syncytium of many heart muscle cells in which the cardiac cells are so interconnected that when one cell becomes excited, the action potential rapidly spreads to all of them. Understand? Why it is called syncytium? Because if any action potential is generated in any part of the cardiac muscle cell, the entire cardiac muscle cells immediately will get that action potential, because because of interconnection of the cardiac muscle cells due to intercalated discs. Understand? Which keeps the heart muscle in a rhythmic and atomacy. This is called this process is called syncytium of the cardiac muscle, because wherever the action potential is generated in the cardiac muscle, the entire muscle will get the action potential very quickly and it will keeps the cardiac muscle in the same, either in contraction or in relaxation mode. So it is called as syncytium of the cardiac muscle. Understand? So to sum up, cardiac muscle is striated as in skeletal muscle. This linear dark band structures are called intercalated discs, and you see this is the heart muscle cell. Okay, and number of how these intercalated discs are formed is by the fusion of the cell membranes of the muscle cells. So these intercalated discs are formed. Why the fusion of fusion of these cell membranes need is to allow the passage of action potential from one part of the cardiac muscle cell to other cell very quickly, and also for ease formation of ease flow of ions through this cardiac muscle fiber, such that the whole of the cardiac muscle is kept in a syncytium, where it rhythmically, where it allows for the rhythmic beating of a heartbeat, that is either contraction or relaxation, which occurs the entire part of the cardiac muscle. So this is the importance of intercalated discs, and this is a differentiation which we can see in relative, in comparative with the skeletal muscles or smooth muscles. Understand? So this is the importance of the cardiac muscle. Thank you very much for listening.